Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store. or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.
It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent His messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose, but by them understanding through those who have become messiahs to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion that is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, the path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness by giving will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to become arrogant in the power that you have understood and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. Carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of a president. They all shine irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look through our soul, we see nothing but a star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand, to be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Welcome everyone to the 251st Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, November 22nd, 2018. I'm your host, Rick Crammond. This is a publication of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, public teaching in English. And as usual, we will have Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation available to speak to us and deliver today's teaching. And I believe he'll have, as we just heard in the last video that we just saw, it mentioned a new beginning and a new cycle. And I think that's part of the theme for the last couple of weeks here. And I'm sure Mr. Keshe will have lots to say about that and plenty more here. I think I can hear him in the background. Are you ready to go, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, good morning, good day to you as usual. Wherever and whenever you listen to these series of Knowledge Seekers teachings, 251, and collectively hundreds of more teachings been done and recorded over years. Yesterday we were talking with some friends, and as I said, we thought for 3 months non-stop, Monday to Friday, 2 sessions a day, the basics of the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation. What is now become the basis of the KFSSI and teaching of the Keshe Foundation. These teachings, some brings forward the new knowledge, some strengthen the new, and some closes the taboos of the past, and how we see and what we see and what we understand of the new technology will become part of what the structures tomorrow, the tomorrow science. We are achieving a lot, and in a coming time, as it will be announced by the Keshe Foundation, different governments will allow teachings in universities and institutes to be done. This process has started in 3 nations, people who are expertise in medicine, in agriculture, in materials and energy systems and space. You have developed the technologies, you have understood the technology. We need to teach these teachers to become teachers in universities on behalf of the Keshe Foundation. 3 languages, maybe 4 will be added soon. We need Portuguese speaking scientists, Keshe Foundation scientists. Get in touch with Universal Council members of Portuguese speaking and state your level of knowledge, what you have, what you can do, what you've done. You become integrated in the Portuguese speaking nation of Brazil. In the coming time, if you are knowledge seekers, you want to get a degree, master's or first degree or postgraduate as doctorate, the setup will be there for you to do so. But we need to teach our scientists to become the scientists in universities that they can teach. Chinese scientists, we will instruct, we will announce a number of people we need to become teachers in Keshe Foundation institutes and organizations coming up. We need to train teachers to start training students in universities. If you are a Chinese doctor, if you are especially Chinese doctors, we need you urgently. Get in touch with the Keshe Foundation structure, as you know, and we will communicate with you. Any medical understanding in medicine, by Monday, Tuesday, latest, get in touch with Keshe Foundation structure, Keshe Foundation website in China. We need you to support the foundation to bring the technology into public domain. We need you to collaborate with the doctors that we can teach them how they use one, what it is. It's very essential. We know we have a large number of Chinese doctors who operate and understand. Now we bring you into open spaces of the hospitals and operational of the system for the Keshe Foundation China. We know we have a large number of Keshe Foundation people in agriculture. At this moment, by next week, we need a large number of doctors. As many as we can get, that you can work in hospitals with collaboration of the Chinese doctors in hospitals for clinical trials and a step out watch and development and teaching of the scientists, of the monitoring of the what we call the clinical trial starting this week in China. We need a large number of scientists who are in agriculture. If you are Portuguese speaking in Brazil, we would like to know, we know many of you that, to move you into teaching in universities. It's correct to have the scientists to teach, but we have to have the scientists which understand the technology. You become employed by the government of Brazil. You become employed by institutes within China, not by the Keshe Foundation. We place you to teach, we teach you to teach. These are seats as professors, as doctors in both China and in Brazil. The Chinese agriculture people who've done a lot of agriculture, we need you to join us very rapidly. We need to teach, if possible, a third nation, which we prefer for security reasons to keep in the background. I'll make an announcement to that group very, very soon. We are in process, maybe with 3 more nations, to become part of the university teaching. We have broken through and we promise you we will. and the process has started, more or less from next week. Keshe Foundation has had a lot of problems in the past few months because of the situation which was out of control. We have managed to resolve it within next week, 10 days. All those who stood by the Keshe Foundation, I'll thank you for it, and you will see the change has come in. We need those Keshe Foundation supporters who understand the process of the space program, energy, to be taught at university level. You have to learn, we teach, the curriculum will be done. The Keshe Foundation in Brazil will be headed by Dr. Claudia. Dr. Claudia will head, she's responsible, appointed by Keshe Foundation, accepted by the Brazilian government to set up the process. The process will go through very fine steps, and we need to have, if we find expertise in other languages, we put translators in. There are meetings set up to train and set up the curriculum. If you are expert in setting up programs for universities, for teaching, monitoring PhDs and masters, we would like to hear from you. Get in touch with the Keshe Foundation webmasters. They know where to place you. Those of you who are invited to special meetings for universities, please try to attend and share knowledge and help the foundation to spread the knowledge. The number of students we teach is as good as what we know ourselves to share, that inspires them to come up with the new knowledge. We are not looking for people who just know how to make GANs or how to make things. We need those teachers who can inspire others to come up with new technology, development of it. We are not looking for scientists who are just there, they've done some work of GAN's work, but have gone beyond that limit, have organized themselves, have done more beyond what we thought and what's been taught in the teachings. We are looking for expertise in the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation. It's important for us that in the 2 nations of BRICS, we succeed rapidly. With this, we'll open up the rest of the nations around the world. The opportunity has come up for us because of what we've done, the teachings we've done, the spread of the knowledge, and does not belong to any one of us. We have worked together as a team. And now we see we are on the back of what we have, and we need to organize ourselves. That now that the breakthrough has come in, we as one nation, we operate as one nation. If you know how to do it, how to structure the teaching in a way you like, or you think there is a subject needs to be taught in the curriculum, put your knowledge forward. By next week, we'll release a website or a link that you can get in touch with the groups who are responsible for this. This group will be set up sometimes today. People who are responsible for it, for the education Keshe Foundation in the universities and institutes around the world. As I said, in the next few months, it'll be taught as you can sign as a scientific course to become part of the university as a graduate. If you've been looking for it, now has been opened up. In 2 nations we are offered opportunities. In China by next year, in Brazil, and 2-3 more nations will join us, and 1 which is under negotiation. So within the next 2 to 3 months, 5 nations, 2 of them one of the leading world nations in what we call as part of BRICS, and another top 5 nations on the world, leading industrial nations, will join the Keshe Foundation teaching. We have not received these gifts if it wasn't for correctness of the technology. The technology is correct. It has proven to be correct, and it has proven to be unique as is shared openly amongst all of us. I thank all the Keshe Foundation supporters around the world. Every single word you put in, every single image you created, governments have been watching. We have become organization with no boundaries, with no patterns. And this is the beauty of it. And this is what is taking the fear out of many, many nations. How we have grown so rapidly without protecting anything but sharing openly. As one of the diplomats in the past couple of weeks told me, is one of the true open platform knowledge sharing in the world. As they say, they never knew the true system, that knowledge was shared so openly in all aspects, and this has been our strength. Open platform, and we keep it that way. And one of the agreements we signed with governments, we stay open platform, which means whatever developed by the companies working with us, by governments, become knowledge of totality, no secrecy. And this is the beauty of how we, in a short while, will announce you can get degrees and postgraduates and first degrees in 2 European nations. The same will apply in the next year to up to 3 African nations, which means the Africans do not need to come to Europe, Europeans don't need to go to South America and the rest. It's taken a lot of hard work, it's still going in the background. We faced massive financial problems through, not ourselves, but others who went to damage us, but it became to help us. And the Keshe Foundation has managed to pull itself through all the problems which was created deliberately by some deliberate actions to damage us. But in a way, the damage was to our benefit because it opened the eyes of many nations how organized these people are. And their organization to disrupt became the key to our success. It's a lot of hard work. And as I said, if you have a speciality in part of the knowledge and you don't speak Portuguese, recording will be made, will be transcribed, and it will be used as a teaching material. Language has never been a problem at Keshe Foundation. So we don't have a problem. You're experts in production of anything, you developed a new technologies, new insight. We recorded video and it'll be used in universities for lectures and for development in different institutes. We come to other part of the Keshe Foundation work, and what is important for us. I'm getting a lot of requests. Can you go a bit slower? You're going too fast. You're teaching too much, too fast. And we need to understand more. In the past 4 weeks, 6 weeks, we had to go too fast because there are other things which is part of the work of the Keshe Foundation. And these are important for us. There are developments, as I said, I have gone back into research, and one of the reasons the developments are becoming very rapid is because I got involved back into research more than teaching. And when I get involved in research, a lot of things moves very fast. It brings a new insight. A new system has been developed and is getting tested and is in development of other new systems. We have not set the Keshe Foundation to be uniform. We have set the Keshe Foundation to be diverse. And as you keep on telling me I'm going too fast, please try to catch up. Please try to understand. What I've decided to do today is that we try to see what is missing in your knowledge. What are your questions? And within those questions, we try to teach more. which means not only we answer your questions, we enlighten too. We said we're going to do this some times ago, we've done it a few times, and I think today is the time to respond to your questions. Keep it within the frame of our work, our present work, not in the realm of other questions. I would refuse to answer because otherwise I can teach other things. We teach everything. Some of the questions you'll ask I've seen in the background. You're too advanced, you're going too quick. I can answer you, but the others will not understand. So what I've decided to do, which I think is appropriate with what you have asked, is to answer the questions, and within the questions I said, I try to teach new technologies, new direction, new insight. But there is one thing. We teach only within the parameters of the space technology. Be it space defense, be it the space energy, be it the space medicine, be it the space agriculture. There are a couple of products which the Keshe Foundation supporters, the manufacturing teams want to show, to display. It's available in time in the middle. Sometimes they would like to present it, we allow them to do it, as we've done before. So we go back into asking you which part of the past 2, 3 weeks or 6 weeks teaching you would like to ask a question about, and how we can enlighten. And if you ask too sensitive questions, my answer is I do not know, because I don't see any reason to create further positions for others to start asking more questions for another subjects, which a lot of people are not ready. But if we see it appropriate, we answer. There is a very clear question. We do not work to create conflict and separation between governments. We work to unite the governments. This is a message to the American administration. We are here to support these talks. We are here to support development of technologies. And we are here to share Iranian space technology with American scientists on an open basis. This is another invitation by the Iranian scientists to the Americans. As an Iranian nuclear physicist and head of the Keshe Foundation Space Program, we share the Iranian knowledge which carries in my name with the American administration openly, that takes all the fears out of both America and the State of Israel. This shows our strength and not our weakness. This shows how we are committed to peace. To our friends in NASA, to our friends in Washington, the door of talk through knowledge in exchange for peace is open again. It's for you to put a hand out, and it's for us all to be out to shake the hand of friendship. Any questions?
I'll ask one if you don't mind. This is John. Hello.
Yes, John, we can hear you.
Okay. So my question is,
Would you like to tell us who you are? We know who you are.
this is John from Arizona.
Yes. And
And the question has to do with when we open up the plasma fields. Last week we talked about opening up the fields in a way that the soul can be born, if you will. And my question is how do we keep the fields open long enough for that soul to be born?
Ha. I think this is where you have not understood, and this is where somehow I cannot reach, especially for Arizona team. John is head of Arizona Research Center. For you lot to understand, and a lot of other people. Can you repeat your last two sentences?
The question has to do with how do we create the soul of the plasma such that it can be born into life and hold on to that life, rather than just being the spark that we saw in some of the other videos.
The sparks you see, I should be able to hold on to it. The question sits in the question you asked, and the answer is the answer to the question you asked. It's not the answer to your question, but is the word open. The answer is no. We don't open the plasma. You remember a few weeks ago, I explained about the skin of the ship, how we turn it inside out and becomes a plasma from matter state. We compress plasma to an extent that the central field forces of the plasma, which is more magnetical than gravitational, returns back on itself. This is where the problem is. This is where the understanding is not matured. We cannot open a plasma. We increase the gravitational field forces on the plasma so much that the gravitational field forces turn up to become the magnetic pole. This is the conversion of gravity into magnetic field. Change of the field strength. Change of gravity into magnetical, or increase of the magnetical in comparison to gravity. This is how the soul of a man is created within the womb of the mother. This is where the misunderstanding of the language open. We don't open. We compress the plasma in one of its two strengths, that it converts, becomes stronger in the other. In one phase, you want to increase the gravitational magnetic field to create the space, and in another way, you create and turn the same material to create compression that it becomes magnetical to gravitational. This is where the misunderstanding, it's not a misunderstanding, it has not been understood. When you see the light, you have compressed the light. But if you compress that plasma in a correct way, it will squeak. And it turns magnetical, becoming stronger than gravitation. And if you change it the other way, it'll contract, it gives you gravitational. Extremely simple. Now that you have managed to create plasmas which they can rotate themselves without a motor. You have to develop. I was in one of the labs very recently, and they have managed with the new materials which has been introduced to create what they call the roaring of the plasma. I said to them, have you recorded it? They said, no. I said, did it happen in a flash of time? How long did it take? 2 hours. I said, for 2 hours you didn't have time to record what you have achieved. But it was making a noise, which is they know because they work in this field, is the field of the plasma. So part of the Keshe Foundation research people have managed to achieve that dynamic field with a nose. The nose of the friction of the space of the stronger field against Earth gravitational-magnetic field. And this has happened, as I said last week, with the development of the new fuel. We keep the structure of this fuel extremely close to our heart because it has different applications. It's shared with 3 or 4 members of the Keshe Foundation internally, and these people are at the edge of the research of space technology. The next step for them in the coming days is the creation of the second and dynamic third dimension, that it creates gravitational field and the light. Two teams are on this track. So what you are doing, this, when you see the dimension of the rotation, is not that it goes this way, but you compress it. The noise should die, and then the noise should come back in reverse. And that's the time you learn this is a gravitational noise, this is magnetic noise. Many of you have seen this on your instruments, but you never realized. Now you see it in sound, you hear it in sound, you see it in the dynamic flow. I tell you what it is, and immediately it clicks on you. Go back to my famous message in the bottom. When you put the electrons in. If you connected these to a voltmeter, you saw +6, +7, +8, and then it came back to 7, +6, +5, and then 0. And then it goes -1, -2, -3. Magnetical to gravitation. You've seen that on your instruments. You should have realized that's the plasma flow change. Now, because we have managed to increase the speed of flow inside, now you can see or you can hear the noise of it. The next step is, now that we have multiple cores, these will interact and will create exactly what happened. The Caroline core, the inner core, the outer core, and then the layers and physicality. And now interaction with Earth gravitational magnetic. This reactor will be tested next 24 hours, 48 hours. Depends on what our scientists will do. They should be able to achieve to report the first breakthroughs. You will not see in this process the light till at the end. Then, if you understood this structure, you come to the next point. The interaction of the gravitational magnetic field of your system will create motion in respect to Earth gravitational magnetic field. You get it wrong, you see nothing, you might hear some noise. The beauty of it is now the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth will interact with your system. I've seen some of you who test, you keep your reactors on the ground. You lose energy to the environment. I've shown that in magnets. Your system has to be free floating, which means should not be connected or touching anything except through your nanomaterial, and the frame of your system has to be nano-coated. You can't hang it off a wooden frame or anything else. because the energy transfer has to be sealed. If you saw in the Chinese system, go back on the teaching of before, you see black sheets on the table, on the floor. We have isolated through nanomaterials the system from Earth. Even the wire cables are insulated. The floor of the lab has been washed with nanomaterial. You have to do everything to cover yourself to become an independent entity in your testing. So, if you understood this, the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth, in trying to match with the gravitational magnetic field of your system, will tighten up your system, and then gravitational or a magnetic field will manifest itself. You don't open the plasma. You interact to compress it, that by compression, you bring the other one up. Up to now you couldn't do because you had the motors. If you remember, the motors became useless. Now your system flying. The new systems has to be kept in a position that is an open lab. Those of you who are in research, I know many of you are doing these things at home. This is the beauty of technology. I started this knowledge in the garage. And many of you follow the way I did, in the garage, in the kitchen. And as one ambassador said to me and Caroline, I've moved into my living room, my bedroom has become my lab. So many of you in different positions of science test everything. Some housewives, some professors, and some other scientists. We're all the same. This time, humanity has started on the same ground, on the same floor. Just 1 second, please. I've received some information. As I'm talking, knowledge seekers, the research people are in the background. They're trying to tell me, without connection to anything, the slide beam can be felt. And they put the parameters around. As we talk, the researchers, as they're listening, they're working in the background too. So, what is important? That they manage not to feel the wind outside, is to manage to create a field and trusting is there that in time will lead to. There are a number of things, like John, have to consider and keep in mind. And that is, you have the system inside, you made your system. But what gravitational magnetic field parameters have you created outside it? Because Earth's gravitational magnetic field is constantly there. It manifests itself in respect to it, but how far can you see where you are? This is what I suggested to our research teams. Build two systems and move one system in respect to the other and see what you see. Now you're working independent. The gravitational magnetic field of this system will create wind in this one. And the gravitational magnetic field of this will create wind in this one. This process of the wind and the way it started, it takes millions of years in space to lead to creation of the first speck of dust to become a small planet, or a small dust of a planet to start a planet. And you lot, like Arman, born 6 months, you expect it to be there at that moment. You need to give it time and understand. In due course, you'll do it with a flick of finger. But now you have to understand. Not only you need to create the wind inside. You have to create the wind outside that it can blow it away, that this wind can come out. Or suppress it by the other one, that it creates a wind inside. It takes a long time to wait for the gravitational earth system to interact. But this one now you control. Go back on the pictures we released on the Keshe Foundation China system. We have two systems. Not because the two systems cannot be always equal, they enforce field forces on each other. You don't need outside generators. Now, John, you understand? It needs two to tango. But you need two tangoes to really to tango, to compare who's dancing. One inside the system and one outside the system. Because these, if you get it right, will create compression in fields, and it open up the plasma through compression and motion, not one. You know what they say? You say, in Fox, you say, yeah, that's another, means with one hand you cannot clap. You need two. Each one carries its own energy. So you need to understand the process. That now you created the plasma, you have to compress it. But at the same time, you have to understand, you have to confine the fields, that in the interaction, the field not only compresses, but it opens up. You don't open it up just by breaking into it. You compress it and it turns itself back, because at some point in respect to gravitational magnetic field of its environment has a turning point. This is what I thought years ago in teachings, and maybe I'll go back on it as recovery. You have the gravitational field. You have the magnetical field. They both run parallel with each other. The gravitational field, as it enters and moves along the magnetical, in some points, the field strength of the gravitational and magnetical at a given strength is the same. And what does it happen? You heard of the famous U-turn. One can flow into the other, or vice versa. And this can happen at any point when the two strengths match in that strength field. And in so many cases, this is a point of creation of matter in respect to the environment that creates. So how do you create, how do you reverse gravitational magnetic field? You create the U-turn for either one. You create gravitational magnetic fields that at any point you dictate the U-turn. You cannot switch on and off. It's not a machine. You have to learn to create parameters that becomes the point of reflection. This is part of the technology you should have learned by now. You don't wait all the way to go in and come back. You learn at this strength. I'm in planet Zeus, and the planet Zeus turning point gravitational to magnetical is at this strength. On Earth is here. On planet God is here. You have to create these walls.
Excuse me. Would that be done with the nano pins in the disc?
How did you create the field? With what matters? With what conditions? In comparison to which environment?
So I'm thinking that by putting...
Goes back to understanding of the technology. We lost you, John?
No, I'm here.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is... I'm sorry.
Let me just explain something, because this is important, I think. If you remember, one is called inertia. One is called gravity. In many elements, not necessarily in all. But at the same time, plasma is a point of conversion. Depends which dimension you want to. In a matter state or in an energy state. Read the unified field theory paper, which I've written. What it means unified, it means it's the same. Is united in work at the same time as they are together. Why do we create stars at this point? But it returns back to the point. What is the point of return? When I draw this and you continuously watch me doing it, what is that point? Why doesn't it go somewhere else? What makes the field to return back on itself? How come the gravitation become magnetical to the other? Little pictures and drawings now have meanings. Create dimensions, create pressures, create new understanding. Now we understand. Now we see, we can comprehend all these little drawings from the beginning in the books, what it means. So if you manage and you draw these infinity loops, how come this is the furthest it can go? And how come it's the closest it can become? And what does it make it turn? Where the loop of gravity and magnetic field comes the turning point. What makes that bend into it? What's the shape of the plasma? What's the origin of plasma? What's the creator of the plasma? If you look, those of you who are in the matter state, what do you see? I was told last week by a very prominent scientist is sinusoidal. Look. But somewhere the two have to return back to them. And what is the point of this return? Here, or here, or here. In electronic we call it the bandwidth. In the other one they call it vibration. But what is the frequency? What does it make that turning point that go up? When you went from plus 0.7 millivolts to minus 7.07 and the zero in the middle, what was the reason for the change? How it became from magnetical to gravitational and back into magnetical. Do go back and do a very simple test, because I've done it and it's very beautiful. Go back into a message in a bottle and place one electrode and measure. Then place second electrode and measure. And watch the cycle. And then place a third one and measure. Measure between them, measure across them. Make sure, what does it mean if they're on the same height or different height. The Coca-Cola bottle you saw is the center of the creation. If you understand it, I refer to it many times. Then see what happens if you just pull this up a little bit. What changes comes here? This is your plasma. Nanomaterial, what John says, can be used as nanomaterial pins to turn. Pull the pin, learn from it, and then you understand what it is. It's not that, it's the field you create. You cannot run to a space, into a shop and say, can I have from supermarket nano-coated material? You have to create the fields of nano condition. This is a step in knowledge you have to learn. There are no matters in the universe that you can go and shop. You have to create the field of the matters, and this Coca-Cola bottle teaches you a lot. It's a true message in the bottle. What you are looking for currents and the others. Because when you did the nano coating to make this nano coated, you have created isolated universe. You're working on your own. You're in your own cosmos. So now you can see the effect of the planet and system. Use different size pins, different size wires, use different positions, and then watch what it gives you. I have spent years making Coca-Cola bottles because it's a unique condition. You have nano, which means isolated fields. Now you have your own universe. Now you have the position to move the star, or move the planet, or move the moon. Bring it to the center, pull it out, pull it back. And then watch the operation between. You learn very quickly, literally, how to run your reactors. I do not, unfortunately, I have a very bad habit. I learned not to feed you. I learned to teach you. As I always said, it says, you give a fish to a man, you have to feed him all his life. Teach him how to fish, he understands the problem. How to feed himself. But in the space there are no fishes and there are no hooks. You have to create that condition. In the Coca-Cola bottle, if you go and understand, post war in Picasso would have made a fortune without that drawings, huh? You have nano-coated it. Now, this is your oyster. This is your center core. This is your outer core. This is your inner core, and then this is this and the others. Now I start moving them. I've done a lot of these things. Just pull it up, pull it down, pull it up, push it there, and see what it gives you. And then this gives you replication of what's happening in your dynamic cores. If you've done this, and if you go back to what some of the original teachings I did, and you put a pipe here and connect it to the tanks above, you see how you get more hydrogen, deuterium, whatever from the same box. Because now you introduce the escape channel into it. I hid the knowledge of space technology in the bottle. And that was the message. And all they were interested, if you go back to original Keshe Foundation website, says, what is that Keshe liquid? They were all interested in that liquid. I was interested to teach you about the cosmos in a simple way. And if you look, they're all parachutes. They're exactly like Earth. Flat diameter, they create their own space. Actually, there are roof pins made of copper, easy to know. But they give you that shape. If you look at them, they're exactly like the shape of spaceship. They could teach me everything I wanted to know about the control. As one guy said, you're a magician in the knowledge of space. You know how to hide things. It's not magic, it's understanding what you expect, what you want to do. What you will achieve. And just 1 second, so I have to say something. It's my mic. I need to be silent. Okay, I found it. Sorry about that. In understanding the process, we can do and develop new technologies. And what we understand is important for all of us. And how we do it, and the way we do it. There is something I was reminded to our American friends. Happy Thanksgiving Day to all of you. And I hope you'll be happy and thankful for what you have. And that's the knowledge we share with you. In so many ways, you have to understand the basic of the knowledge. If you pressurize this system and understand it and fully control it, it doesn't take long to be able to operate a Coca-Cola bottle. Then you can even see the operation of the soul. Something which I always explain to you, and that is very simple knowledge of physics and science of the creation. We start with fields. Interaction of the fields gives us physics. Interaction of two physics gives us chemistry. Interaction of 3 to 4 gives us biology. And interaction of 5 or 6 gives us the soul of the man. And then interaction of the souls gives the soul of the creator. You have to understand the work of each steps. Then you understand how we work. And the rest of it. And if this is complicated, the same way, in a core, 5 layer, 6 layer, whatever. Then you understand how through your thoughts, through your soul, you can control the dimension. Very simple. There is no difference between this and this, and this and this. It's just that you have to understand. Then you can take the knowledge to further. Then you understand you don't need to open, you need to compress, or you need to release, to create a point of conversion. Many of you, when you start these things, I watched this for a long time, and the strangest thing is you get one reactor and you paint them. And you say, oh, I've got 4 reactors. Many times I said, understand the ratio. If you painted this once, you have to paint this twice. If you painted this twice, you have to paint this 4 times. If you painted this 4 times, you have to paint this sign 16 times. That you create that ratio. Oh, I painted it one at a time, all the same. Doesn't work. Mr. Keshe, there is something wrong in your knowledge. You're a fraud. My friend, you're ignorant of the reality of the creation. Then when you make these systems, oh, I painted. And he said, if I do ratio, it works. It doesn't work that way. You forgot another piece. Let's take this one out here. This is your core. We are looking it down. My friend, that's one part of it. This has to be another one. This has to be another one. This has to be another one. That it creates a field motion between it, and it creates a dynamics. So here you did 1, 2, 4, 16. Here you do 1, 2, 4, 16. And then you have your dynamism. Everything has to be in order. When I do it this way. Mine works. First flight in Iran, I took off. All of you, 5 years, 10 years, still running because you don't watch the steps. I showed you the spherical core in Eindhoven, and you just saw electrodes beaming in. Every position of electrode, to the space, to the distance, to the gap, was calculated to create a dynamic flow. And you just want to stick something, you paint it and it flies. Does not happen. And if it does happen, oh, I had a ball, it disappeared, something. By accident, you create the right field, but you never understood what you did. By accident, the paintbrush moved a little bit, everywhere a little bit thicker than the other, it created a ratio. 1 to 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to 15, whatever. By accident, that part happened to be double brushed. So now you had a big pack direction of flow. Understand the technology. Because when I set a system, everything is considered. It takes me months to set a system up. You lot do it in 1 week and then 1 day and you say it doesn't work. If it works in 1 day, it means you have done all the work in the past. You understood every factor. Then you become the creator, and even he makes sometimes mistakes. And one of them is called human race. that we cannot put right. It doesn't matter what we do with it. But it's getting better. We're correcting the mistakes of the creation. It's not a mistake, it's a mishaps. Something went wrong. Now you're getting put right. But understand what you're doing. I painted it and I put things on it, it doesn't work. Did you create the current flow? Did you create the current flow in respect to our side? Did you give it a push on the other side? How can you fill a bucket which is already full? You created this and you created the field, it's there. Unless something comes from Earth or something, you create. Now you need to make another one, slightly different, that this pushes this one. And you got in control. What I teach you, look at the space reactor, the Iranian system. You look at the pictures which is on the internet. You have the small reactor, you have a big reactor. Look at the Chinese system. You have two systems. And listen to the teaching. A slightly loaded different. Those who were with me in the lab when I loaded the Chinese reactor. Every ball was put on the table single-handedly, individually loaded according to what they had to do. And then when I wasn't there and it broke down, they couldn't put it because they never understood. Every intricacy counts. Every ratio counts. You mix, you paint to paint it, you put that paint aside. If anything happens, you have a match to do. Oh, I repeated this, but it used the same mixture. Those who work with me in the lab in China, they saw I left a lot of buckets of paint behind, material behind, because it was supposed to be used for the position it was put there. You don't make one thing and go. When you make medical system the same, you have to understand to get everything right, and you keep the resources that if something happens, you get replicated. They're getting to the what the English call nitty-gritty. The little details counts. Now, do we open or do we compress? But with compressing, do we create a condition that we can remove what we don't need? I did everything you said. I put the cores there, I put magravs there. What magrav you put in there to compress, you did not deplete the system. You didn't create the right condition inside. You have to calculate everything when you do. And then you fly. Arman did it once by accident and he never understood, but he flew. He says, I lost my balls. 2 of them. I don't know where they are. My biggest worries was, if you take MRI, would they land it in the stomach if it was so close to it? Because the chakra of man creates that kind of condition. But apparently it's still alive for past 2 years, so must be his ball somewhere. We have to understand the process. And now you have everything. Now you have to tune, fine tune to get to the station you want. The station of the soul of the man, the station of physicality of the man, the station of tangibility, the station of light. Now it's in your hand. You have all the technology. Today, thanks to John, I explain more. These are the things which John and his team are involved in, and 2 other research centers. And many of you at home. You've given up. It doesn't work because you have never understood the tiny things counts. Many times I've said, in the world of science, I'm a nuclear physicist. Nuclear means the tiniest things counts. I consider. I haven't become a cosmologist to look at big things. I became a nuclear physicist to look at the smallest thing, and everything in that parameter counts. The smallest heat transfer, the smallest flow, the smallest combination of materials. I look into the detail of the smallest, that when I sorted the big solve themselves. When I attended British Nuclear Fuel to work with British government, one of the first thing they did, they threw out a young boy coming in, doesn't understand, it's been a problem for 10 years, now we keep him busy for another 10 years. What do they give me? Hinkley 1 power station, British nuclear system, British nuclear gas power stations. This is the reactor. Tons of it. But there was a problem. These buildings are screwed to the walls, what they call reflectors, metal sheets. And every now and then they drop. They fall, they loosen. So they tried everything, they changed the pivots, they changed everything else, they concreted it, they did everything they could. So here comes a young boy, still fresh, as they saw, green hair, from Queen Mary College. He's a nuclear, let's make a ridiculous of him. We are all mechanical, electrical, material scientists with 20 years. He'll be busy at the end of the desk of 20 people. One day he moves one chair, he's a foreigner, he never get anywhere. I come in. They explain to me, this is your job for a time being. You can make teas and bring us tea. Because they worked on it. They are mechanical, they changed everything. I move in. Very simple. I said, you know something, guys? This is the panel. These are your screws into the wall. This thing is a radioactive material. It doesn't work in there. It works in there. You're getting nuclear fatigue on your screws, which means nuclear radiation is interfering with your pins, which means going from zinc to lead to copper, softening it. So they fall. Tested. Within 1 week, the little boy from Queen Mary College, green hair, is moved to a specialist because he understood. It's not understanding the small pieces of it. Now is in part of British nuclear technology, radiation shielding. It counts, it needs. But how do you, with your present knowledge, protect this system that it doesn't do anything anymore? British nuclear physicists are still busy at it. I thought, I'm not working for you lot, why should I teach you? But now you as scientists, very easy for you. You have the pin. Very easy, nano-coated, shield protected from all the radiation. Never fall. It never even heat up, because heating does not, even it does, it transfers heat out to the building. Now you understand how little things count. Understanding the problem, understanding where you created problem for yourself in the space technology is your last man standing, alive or dead. You are wanting a big ball to move or light up. Is something wrong with Keshe's technology? No, darling, you haven't even understood. You made a little mistake inside, you have missed something. And a lot of missings has become a very big problem. And then you blame the science. I blame for lack of knowledge. So when you work, we are coming to the point of reaching, understanding left hand motion, and it becomes very, very tied to the little things. And if you understand, I start teaching little things, which you missed. These are what you got to understand. You don't need Nobel Prize for these things. You don't need to win a prize to solve a problem. You learn one thing, if you understand it, the faster you understand the operation and being able to replicate it, there is the other operation. The soul of the man, which is of the same strength of the system. Then you control it. You don't need control systems. No computer system of today can match, even operate with this as fast as it is. By the time you press A, you're already in planet Zeus. What are you going to do with B? You're back on the other side of the universe. Try to take note of it. This is the second, third time I go back on this in past 5 years. You don't listen, so we go away and you still haven't managed to fly. And those who understood it, they keep it hidden. We received an information, top secret. I want to speak to Mr. Keshe. Very top secret. I already know there's no top secrecy in it. Publish it. Let others understand it. I already know the top secret. I wrote the book of the top secret of the knowledge of space, but it's open. There's no secrecy. It's called the patterns. It's called the open teaching. If you write to me as a top secret as we get from people, it means you don't even carry the ethos of the foundation. Share it in public. Let the other people elevate. Understand the small pieces, especially John, especially other research centers. You're missing very, very small minutes, and then you miss the whole thing and it doesn't work. I keep on teaching, but I can't teach it because it means the elevation of the knowledge is not there. It's not been understood. It's not the energy you put in it. It's the energy you create around it, which creates the rotation. Have you seen anybody feeling and putting, what do you call it, fuel tanks into Earth that it rotates? Or have you seen anybody poking elements in it to charge it that it goes? It means the technology has not been understood fully. Bring, if Rick, if you can see the pictures in one of the presentation, you see very simple, and I keep on, every time I see it, I said, why these people don't understand? It's in the Sensano, you see the Iranian reactors. 2 white ones. This was understood 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And when this was understood, the Iranian government already understood that the guy knows something. So I've done 15, 20 years ago, I understood. 40 years ago. Now it could be shown, it could be built. You have the same Chinese system. Intricacy of knowledge. The Chinese system is so beautiful. If you could understand it, the limitation of it was the motors. The limitation of it is physical structure. But it still can overcome. You can use the physical structure to confirm the existence of the energy and conversion of it. Look at the size of the 2 reactors of the Iranian government. You see the dimension? And you know there is a little one inside, and you know there is a little one inside. Look at the ratio. Both have been matched, outside and inside, but different field composition. And I can decide that I fly. I fly, I open it up, I change it, and I said, this time I want to go that way. I go that way because I set it up that way. With a new system, no motors, you don't have these restrictions. The Iranian system is laboriously hard to control sometimes because it still has motors in it. Iranians have not moved to the other dimension completely yet. The loss of one spaceship was too much. One too many because it wasn't understood. And should not happen if you understand. Look at the details and you achieve it. You have to create everything by the motion of the fields and interaction of the fields. How to, what is strength, how you position it, how you composition it. How do you increase your field strength that you go from copper to zinc or from zinc to gold and diamond? Your thalamus does it, in your body it does exactly what it says. You need to add fields to change, to increase, to change dimension. If it's done in your body, so it should be very easy to be done because it does it 24 hours a day. Every millisecond changes copper to the zinc because part of the brain needs zinc today. It doesn't ring a bell to you, excuse me, can you go and need some copper please today, or we need some zinc at the moment. But how does it store these magnetic fields that when it needs as a plasma it calls upon it in the liver? How do you store energies in your systems that while they are doing it, you got packets of energy that you can hold on to, that you can release at the time you need? In the Iranian reactors, we put nuclear materials at specific points. Our storage system was separated from our working system. I'm proud to be an Iranian nuclear physicist. But I'm part of this planet. It belongs to all of us.
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe.
Yes.
Could I play that video that shows the Iranian reactors maybe in the background while you discuss it?
Go ahead, take over.
Okay, thank you.
Understand what it means. Every position, every wind, every structure has to be understood. You got 6 weeks to fly. And there's no water in the space that you have liquid reactors. We went through liquid for you to understand, to see the motion, but you have gathered enough knowledge. You got to push for the spaceship. You got to understand the process. You see this picture? It's very simple. This reactor, I thank the Iranian government for allowing this to be built. If you freeze it, when it comes in picture, the two of them together, you see this core dimension. Stop there, please, if you can. Yeah. You see, thank you very much, Rick. You see this core dimension counts. Inside this, there is another core. This dimension counts. Here is another one. Position of nuclear materials on the dome, inside the dome, and inside and outside the reactors all counts. How you put it. And you count this internal reactor with this internal reactor. You count the position of this flow with this flow. If you look, every parameter here is monitored. If you look, this is one flow and this is another flow. The same proposition here. This is the Sensano in Italy. You see in the video of weight reduction. But now you're more advanced. Now you understand the flow, dynamic flow. Instead of the nuclear reactor sources, you've been given the gases, but you have to understand how to enhance it. And in my teaching, I've taught you many times, but you don't hear. This is one of the biggest achievements in the spaceship program, thanks to the Iranian government. And now you see the development I've done with the Chinese. 160 to 350 cores, individually hand-filled to the ratio, to the combination, to understanding. There's no difference. Bigger scale, more advanced. The bigger reactor compresses the field inside the smaller reactor. That in compression reflects out. The same here. You count on the outside, I count on the inside. How I can turn this. This here, at the time, we considered as a helium and other gases reserve tank, that they could leak in as it was needed, and it worked. Even the Iranians could not understand how it worked. Them, it was a strange thing, but they never understood, and I'm a very lousy teacher. I love students to learn, and they learn very fast. This is the reactor where in the Sensano, 3 months after it returned from Iran, I reduced the weight, and you've seen it from 6 to 9 kilo to 6 kilo and below, and it creates flight. The Iranian scientists were much faster. Understand the process. Understand the technology. Understand the process of the creation of what you need in the space. Then doesn't matter if I give you nuclear material, I give you gold, I give you sand, you still will make the same thing, because you have learned how to walk. You don't open the plasma, you compress the plasma. That it squeaks, and in the squeaking, it's like a cat, it jumps out. What do you do when you corner a cat? Can't go into the wall, there's no hole. What does it do? It jumps back on you because you tighten the. It's the same thing with the plasma. Plasma is a corner it. Know how to squeeze it, it'll jump out. You haven't learned that yet. Any other question?
I was going to say, we haven't learned that yet, but we're certainly trying. That was the question from Bente, who is, I think she's 78 years old or something, an older lady who's developed a passion for plasma in the last year or two. And she's gone through the books and she's really developed her knowledge of plasma and the interaction of the way things work in the universe and so on. And she didn't start with a science background. And her question was, how do you compress the fields and compress? How is that done and what does that mean? So that has a special meaning for you, Mr. Keshe, and maybe you can help explain what the context of that, in the context that you are conceiving it, what does that mean to compress the plasma? Or compress the fields, rather, not the... is that true? Is the fields rather than the plasma that gets compressed?
To what we saying in space technology, compressing means understanding the point of return. In the position of compression, plasmatic compression, you use the addition of the field to create the compression by itself. It's like a sound barrier. It's you who puts that barrier up where you want. That's what I just explained just a few minutes ago. You have to understand each magnetic gravitational field within itself, it has a bandwidth. That dark line, the narrow line, is where you are traveling in. But in fact, it has many traces. Keep track, but play with the fields. Because this, in due course, will create its own field. When you speak about compressing, is understanding how much you can do, at a certain point this guy will turn to. What happens when you fly a plane into certain speed of compression? It reflects back at you, and at that point it goes pong. If any of you been listen to sound barrier being broken, in the light, that change becomes from gravitational to magnetic. It's the saturation of the field flow. How do you create it? You squeeze this with other fields to narrow that point that it becomes the terminal position. This is why you have different reactors, to create that compression on other fields that then they squeak. This is the process of development in the space technology. We cannot change it. You have to understand it. You have to realize, you got to feel it. It's the keeping the track compression that in turn itself back turns on itself. And it can do it at any level. Here it could be at a level of gold. Here is copper. Here is this amino acid. When it comes to this, it becomes human race. Why do we have amino acid as a basis of the race of the man? Because that's the level of the compression, of turning, of joining and creating. This is why we have life in every level of this planet. It's that compression point which allows the combination and existence. It's the same with the rest of the universe. Life is not exclusivity of this planet. Life exists in every level of this universe, because at a point of conversion, one can interact with the other, and at that point, interacts. And interaction, as I said, fields create physics, chemistry, and life. If you understand this, those who say, are there any other creatures in the universe? Yes, there is. Every corner of this universe. You turn, there is one, but you have to understand the knowledge of the strength. Compressing it is to understanding what is respect to the field of the environment. If you fly a plane and you have no air, there is no air compression to get a kaboom. So that wall, that compression point, is a turning point. It's the same with the plasma. It's not that you put a wall up. You understand what is the turning point at the strength of it. This has different strength, this has different strength. This turns as one point, this turns at one point. What do? You dictate the fields outside, you create a position of compression. Simple as that. You create a compression by loading, then when you get lights. Where does the light between the earth and the sun comes? At the point of the compression and conversion interaction. This is what I said to one of the, and just even a few minutes ago. You need two systems and bring it back and forth. You find the point of compression of light. You find the point, because you got to understand, you look at this one, but in fact goes back to what I said about the uranium reactor. Look. And if you have left a trace of this in this one, it interacts immediately. You just paint it. But did you leave a track that these two somewhere have a written contract? Why does a twin star always connected? Because at the point of essence of creation, a seed of zirconium was left in the middle. And these, as a plasma, keep the two together. Because there is no other zirconium in any part of this planet system. The connection is in the seed. The connection is in the essence of the soul of the creation. Why are you connected to your mother or your father and you know everything else? Because that strength created at that point, it belongs exclusively to the emotion which was created in the mother, that it keeps connecting you. You're a twin star. The same. You have to leave. And here, another one. And here, another one. Little markers, but in a plasmatic condition, locking key. And then, because this tries to match with that, it creates compression on this one. This tries to match with that, it feels compresses, because this now has to have a bandwidth of strength that it can go minimum and a maximum. Maximum it can go away, minimum it can come to it. Then this creates a compression on this one. And then at one point, click, it comes in. If you don't understand this, go to the simple teaching of electron and a proton. It's the same thing. The seed, because they came from originally the same, carry this seed. Just 1 second, please. This is the process we have to understand. This is how systems lock to each other. And then if you have more electrons, this one has a seed here. So now this is connected to this. Because don't forget, they came from the same neutron. And collectively they create the soul of the atom. That the atom stays as a copper, zinc or whatever. You got to understand the process. You make cores. How do you connect these cores together? How do you understand the position of these cores together? What are you moving back and forth? What is the position? Does this create a compression? Or does this create a compression? You need to bring it closer. Or you just create a field, that fields give that compression. These are part of knowledge we have to understand. And it's missed. I made a reactor, exactly 5 layers, but it doesn't work. Excuse me, sir. You forgot one thing. You need to create a compression of this on this one. Did you leave a little trace? I just left a tingling of copper oxide there. Here, I left a tingling of zinc. Here, I did just a touch. Go back in all the teaching. I have taught you this many times and people don't listen, so I gave up. Means you haven't understood. How? Going back, a neutron dividing in a proton electron keeps the contact between the two. Because there is a specific strength which these two share. Came from the mother. This is so simple. Even those who are now on testing for space reactors in different labs, if you miss this, how do you expect your reactors to interact with each other? This is the problem. Then where does the compression come? Because this tries to squeeze fields of this one, it squeezes, compresses this one. Because partially they have some of each other in it. Unfortunately, those who made some reactors, they have to redo it. This is the process which how in the creation of the man, some couples can't have children. Even they rub it every day and night, but it doesn't happen. Because that link does not exist in the process, cannot be created. If you do or change the condition that you create that false condition, you get pregnant tomorrow. It's the same process. You have to have a common denominator. And the beauty of it with your system is, you decide the common denominator. Now how do you make compression? It's the same fields. In electronic you call it a bandwidth. In other part of the same technology you call it frequency. In other side of plasma technology we call it the compression of field. You decide how much, with what, and how. With this you created the current, with this you did different thing. With plasma you need another plasma. And your position has come through dictating the size, the volume, and the ratio. Arman has been on this for years, and he achieves it and he misses it, and it doesn't work. You could fly anytime, Arman. The same with other research labs. Understand, I never teach these things because to me, a knowledge seeker has to understand his own mistakes, not to be hand-fed. That's why we are knowledge seekers. Otherwise, I become a professor and you become a student. So none of us are. We are both knowledge seekers. You seek the knowledge of space, I seek the knowledge of creation. You got to understand the smallest things. When you look after it, the rest doesn't need to be, because you already put everything right. You don't need to worry about other things. Any other question?
Well, I guess one question would be, what are the things that we need to, the small things that we need to pay attention to? And what about, for example, the geometry between the reactors, or the spacing, or the where they're positioned, and the heights and all that kind of thing? That might be part of it. How do we judge that? How do we know? Do we find that within ourselves by sensing and feeling the fields, or is it something more technical? You mentioned earlier about calculating in detail the interactions. How would that be calculated? And is that on paper or in a computer, or is that in your mind when you do that?
Partially it's experience, and partially by understanding what you're doing while you're experimenting.
That sounds a bit like getting into what's called getting into the seaman's union, where you become a seaman on a ship at sea. And how do you get into the union? Well, you have to have been to sea. And how do you get to sea? Well, you have to be in the union.
Not
So
really.
people get
No.
around it. To get around it, what do you have to do? Well, you have to sneak on board the ship. And then once you're there, you declare yourself, get your work in. You then become part of the union, and then you're allowed on the ship again.
Yeah, or they get you to walk the plank. Huh?
Yeah, one or the other is. You walk one way on the plank or the other way on the plank. Take your choice.
There's a woman sitting in the background in this teaching. She can tell you many times I used to get hit by just by putting the plasmas together, and they release themselves. And sometimes the conversion of the plasma field burns your skin very deeply. And she used to tell me, you burn yourself again? I said, the plasmas I can't control. It's like a cat, it's like a ball you squeeze it and suddenly burst. And when you get a burst of plasma, it burns heavily. Doesn't mean I just learned I don't have to squeeze the plasma on this corner. I had many scars on my hand and my body by releasing plasma energy. It's worse than fire burn. And it burns in the inner skin, you can't even sometimes see. It burns in the bone sometimes because it happened to be you had the calcium in it. You didn't watch when you were making the water glances. It wasn't a distilled water and it was some calcium in it. Miscalculation. It's understanding the process. I used to carry the wound for 2-3 days and out of nowhere it used to heal because it was plasmatic burn. And I used to shout because it really hurts. The burning of a plasma is different than the burning of fire. Because it's plasmatic, you feel it in your nerve system, in the emotion. It's very, very different than when you get burned with a fire or a God knows hot water. And you shout beyond, and part of your shouting God doesn't want to hear. There's a woman here who said many times I shout. I stop working because it's too deep. It burns inside you. This is the process. You have to learn part of it. I've made it very easy for you lot. I have saved you a lot of pain. None of you have had a burn of the plasma yet, and when you feel it, it's always horrendous. So it's hands-on. Join the union or jump on the board. Now this is very easy to become part of the ship. You just get a parachute, you land. You don't need to jump in this.
Okay, there's another solution to that problem.
Or you do it the Russian way. You get a submarine and attach yourself to the ship and you drill your way in. The Israelis can tell you what happened to them. Next question.
Yeah, we
There's
had.
something, let me explain to you another part of the teaching which has been taught, but it inspires some of you to understand more. In many of our teachings, I refer to intestine and understanding the work of the intestine. In our teachings, we always refer, and if you go back to the knowledge I explained many times, that when you eat the food, the banana doesn't cross your intestine, but the fields of the banana crosses your intestine. But there is a very fundamental question which none of you ever understood, but maybe you have to understand, is a field cannot jump out if there is not something in the lymph of the man which calls upon it. It's the same process as I explained just now. You have to have a matching. This is, if you understand, very important to people like Dr. Rodriguez, to people who work in the medical architecture. If you understand this is the same process of creation, the same process as flight. What makes this energy from inside, from the banana to jump on you? The same as here. The principle, the technology, the knowledge is the same. Many of you, you think just because you ate the banana, it has to be digested. Most of the energy of the banana is plasmatic, is already absorbed by the body. The process is how to get out of it, or to get rid of it. Each enzymes, each salt, each acidity, what you call it, it creates different fields that it can jump to match. This match is a Saturn, is another galaxy, is another dimension. You create the match, you jump in, you cross the barrier of the universes. How hard is to understand this? Happens in your body every second you swallow something. Space technology, replication, the life of the man. Man has to understand his own construction. The space become a game. But because you've been taught the wrong physics and biology, now you're going, everything else is wrong because now you know the truth. It's very hard to go back and say, I was stupid accepting so much rubbish. And luckily, we have enough educated people that they don't put me on the news as they did with the guy who said the Earth is not the center of the universe. Still alive. Even the Belgium tried a few times. This is how simple it is. You don't understand the macro, go to micro, and if you don't understand the micro, go to a macro of a bigger one. And then you see even this is a micro compared to another macro. So it's very easy. You have, once you understand to walk, dancing is very easy. It's just you, I said always in my teaching, man will take from this knowledge, this teaching, this technology, according to his intelligence. And the intelligence is a restriction of man accepting the truth, nothing else. What does enlighten mean? It means I become intelligent to understand. Any other question? Oh my God. We're already in 2 hours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have a question from Gerard in the live stream. It says, on a physical level and to be able to observe the different effects, can magnets be used to establish observable field effects? As I understand this, it should be able to compress the fields.
The American Naval Forces, what's called American Marines, understood part of this in 1973, 1975. Sears understood part of, Cyril understood part of this, but could not take it to the next step because it got locked into the matter state. Yes, you can. The first trials of lift and motion, 1970s, by the American Marine Forces, led to this. Cyril was supposed or try to take it further, but sometimes they can see lights in the interaction because the field strength covers that spectrum. Some of the magnetic noises below hearing level of man becomes light in that level. It can be done. Matter state is the ultimate strength length, a strength field in that bracket. So it has its own light, it has its own noise. Internally, even within the structure of the atoms. Yes, it can be done. I used to do it a lot in some of the processes, but now it's very easy with people who do the develop, especially the medical system. If you, in the future, when the expansion of the knowledge comes, when you put a person in well, systems like the ones is made for medical application, you should be able to see the light where it creates inside the body of the man, and you know what is your interaction point. Are you in the center of the tumor or outside? And then you deplete at that point the field which is a certain of the tumor, which is a copper or zinc, and you just deplete it and it's gone. I was in a meeting with some doctors this afternoon, and I explained to them to reverse, if you understand the process of the cancer, it should not take more than 3 minutes. But that, the way, if I sit behind the system and I can tune it according to what it is.
Mr. Keshe, a question from Rodrigo, Dr. Rodrigo. How the water passes through the stomach and intestines, and how is it
Doesn't
absorbed?
pass. It does not pass. It just creates its energy and it gets pulled by the other ones on the left, on the other side. The first gravitational magnetic field of the water is delivered by the sperm into the egg. And that fingerprint just expands. It's a multitude. This is what I was explaining to, I explained this before. Now maybe you can understand. This is understanding the process. Some of you get very fat, extremely fat. And some of you have very little fat. I'm this one, you're this one. Now, how do you get fat? Would you like to be fat, or the fat being is point of stature, or conformation of position? How do we get fat? Do we collect fat, or do we have a water fat? What creates the water fat? And in the coming processes, you can reduce the fat from both in a few seconds. You can go in size 64 and come up size 46. What do? You create gravitational plasmatic field of what the center of each one is. What's the difference between a fat from food and a fat from stress? This fat is from energy. This fat is psychosomatic. Big difference. But getting fat by eating, storing energy, you have created an energy level at a certain level. What we call emotional fat is water-based, and it has a seed. In the medical system, we don't understand it, we call it that seed, the seed of cancer. In emotional, we call it the point of seed of stress, which makes you absorb water to keep that salt away from the skin to burn the other cells. So you have the salt seed, which the brain decided, I want that salt still there, and this salt, if it touches in the plasmatic magnetic field of a strength to a plasma of a protein, it burns. What does it do? It surrounds it with the water to keep it safe, not to touch, not to create any damage. So you get fat, you get water absorption. You satisfy the emotion. The same thalamus will change the direction from salt to next step. If you look, what is sodium in a plasmatic energy? Found roughly in some points, and see what happens to it. But you have to look at one to the other in the electron plasmatic, not that way. In a magnetic field spectrum, it's very strange how things work. You are looking for number of protons, electrons, atomic mass, or atomic weight. It doesn't work that way. It depends what field strength adds up totality. And that sodium converts in so many ways at the bottom of the length in combination of fields against back to water. This is how the water is created in your body. It's playing with the field strength, not playing with the name of the matter as you're used to. So I satisfy the emotional given strength. This guy does not jump out, but this guy converts itself not to be, because now I change the game. I have a connection with it. Now I want to become oxygen, so voila, it goes. And then you have to burn the fat which was there, because immediately when you remove that, you find out you end up with a lot of water, a lot of piss that you have to clean out. And this is the problem. And this is one of the biggest problems. And this is one of the biggest problems in the understanding for our doctors, especially with cancer, especially with other things. This is what we have to, especially doctors, have to understand. And this is part of the technology. How, if you understand this, then this becomes an atom of something else. You can collapse your shield, and it can collapse and open your shield. In your space reactors, when you look at it, it's the same. You leave a point that you can collapse your system up back from magnetical to gravitational, and you suddenly increase your shield or reduce it in combination with the other reactors. The knowledge is the same. You get fatter or you get smaller. How do you want to do it? Which one becomes the seed of the other one? Is the fat created by additional energy, or is the fat created by emotional energy? Do you understand the difference? Have you understood the difference and you understand how to handle it? Or you go both ways. You go for energy and emotion. Voila. It works much faster. Any other question?
We have a couple of comments in the chat here, and maybe I can read. Jedi, who says, "Hello, Mr. Keshe. To open then is to compress. Does a winding unwinding concept fit better this explanation?"
Can you repeat that, please?
Says, "Hello, Mr. Keshe. To open then is to compress. Does a winding unwinding concept fit better this explanation?"
No, it's not a clock.
Well, he says torsion fields, so are what we have been working on, either making GANs spin in rotors or enabling it to rotate by vector flux, or the understanding of ratios, substance.
Yes, that's another way of explaining it. You're right. But you got to understand, you got to use, to make it easier for you, different strength of field. I explained this to a scientist very recently, and maybe explains it in a different way. A plasma is like a drill in the hand, and it's got a reverse and a forward button. And then you have opportunity to change the drill head. Then you have the opportunity to change the drill bits. Then is you who has the opportunity to use a drill for wood, concrete, or metal. Are you drilling out or are you drilling in? Are you creating a compression against a surface? Are you going backwards with it on the reverse mode? When you get in, you can't get out. You just change a switch and you reverse. It's very much like exactly what you do with the plasma. But you have to understand at the same time that this drill has a hole in the center that it can add gases into your balloon and change conditions. It opens not in a matter state, but in a plasma state. It's you who have to decide what you're delivering and what you're expecting to extract. In a space technology defense system, it's very important, these kind of things. You carry a system and you have a target ahead of you, a meteorite. There is no way you can pass. What do? You assess its strength. You assess what it could be the composition according to the speed and position he has. All you need to do, you deliver field into it, you saturate it, then you can literally go through it. When you pass, your field is gone, it goes back to its origin. Many space systems, many of you have no, human beings have seen this, but they never understood. They call it the neutrino goes through Earth. And they go to the bottom of some kilometers in and you put special waters to see if it comes and it changes. Many spaceships do the same. Because they create that field strength. Now, do you need a compression? Or do you need expansion? Or do you need plasma saturation? In the defense technology, in the space technology, very easy. If you bend backwards to win, very easy. American ship just saturated, would not exist. The life is there, the electrons will be there, the ship will be there, but it has no tangibility. It's like putting your hand through it. For me, it takes 5 minutes to build a ship. It's the same process. I'm the master in it. How do you directionalize? Very easy. Because, go back to the dome. The specific points are clear field release. Weakness within the structure allows composition or creation of the direction of the field travel. You can send packages and deliver it by packages. The stone, the meteorite doesn't see it, but it receives, it's like putting a sugar in hot water. It just opens up. If you boil the water again, sugar is back in there and let it cool. This is what you do in the space. You don't zigzag behind meteorites or through it. You're going at such a speed, you create a field. That field covers the spectrum of what you're going through, which is the higher than the central gravitational point of the center point of the, what we call the mother plasma, the center line of the field. If you understand the, what we call the principal line of the creation, and you can create condition of the field, which all these have come from, you're always above. Nothing will exist on your path. Because the field you have created is above. So there's non-tangibility in dimension of the strength. In the future, scientists will understand these. If this recording stays, they understand very quickly how to develop space defense technology. When a meteorite comes to Earth, you don't go and bomb it and nuclear it, whatever. Very simple. You deliver fields to it that it becomes like a wind. It goes through, opens up, and you come out of it. This is much easier, less dangerous. Not to explode it and get God knows what shrapnel. This is the American way. The Iranian peaceful way is You let it exist, and you dilute it, that you go through it. Destruction has no meaning in space. Coexistence, understanding the strength of the other to exist as one, exists. This is the principle of the creation in the universe. You don't need to destroy anything. You can just make it. You can just make it to just be there, and you allow it to exist. You know your strength. You know the composition of strength of your ship. You just want it to be enough that you can go through it. And doesn't matter what's next. You create the fields, which all these have come from the central line spectrum by reduction. So if you could understand this, which is very much the same as the soul of the man, you are through the stronger. You are so much that you go, these become like vapors in your path. How do the planes go from the earth to the top with all the clouds? You just go through. It's the same process. But now you make the matter as a cloud, and dump some matters below that. The present radar technology cannot conceive this because it's beyond man's understanding, but that's how it works.
So Jedi goes on to say, and physical flight will be achieved by precise control of the torsion by compressing the magravs. Should we consider intent?
Aha, who said that?
Jedi, in the Q&A here.
Which from the Star Wars?
Well, Jedi Simon is his name. I'm not sure if he takes it from Star Wars or not, but he's a...
You see, you have to understand that the plasmatic fields continuously converts to higher or lower strength. It's you who have to put the parameters where you want it to go. When it converts or when it turns, you want it at high level or lower level, or you split it to be at the lower level by extracting from. This is how you make materials in the body of the man. So it should be very easy. You can get a copper and make sodium out of it, and you can get an iron and make gold out of it, because you create a field at the point of conversion of the gold strength. So the magnetical fields of the iron releases so much that it comes to gravitation of gold, and then it attracts the field of gold.
He mentioned, should we consider intent a sort of compression?
How close are you to your soul? You understand if your intent is peaceful or danger to somebody else. Man has to understand about that intent, which comes from the dimension of the soul of the man. Last week I touched this and somebody wrote to me, Mr. Keshe, can you talk more about it? Yes. This is your brain, your head, and this is your soul, and this is little Chinese man and his brain. The strength of the intention lies in different positions, unless, as I said, we all love, but love has different meaning to all of us, because the strength, according to compactness of the fields of the man, sits here because it's made it more compact, so he feels the love there. But this one, through openness, has melted here. So has a different field strength, different distance. So if we bring this to this position, this is anger for the man and destruction for the Chinese, and this is pleasure to the American. Now you understand the intention. Or do we decide on this? Given strength, just cut a brain and look at the structure. We built a brain from composition, different composition in Valletta. It took some time. It was done by Marco, but he couldn't see what I could see. If you build and add all the assets which are in the structure of the brain of the man, you create the same condition, the same structure as the brain of the man. You see layers, you see the compositions, how they attract and how they develop. You put composition of creation of protein in it, and then you understand it. And you can actually create full structure of the brain. If you go to the next step of science of the man and understand the process of the creation, and if you understood how we built the damaged part of the brain of Naomi, we did the same thing. You give me a skull, I build a man out of it for you. From the soul to physicality. Very easy. You will see the man who existed in that skull in the dimension of physicality. Very easy. If you understand the science of creation. In the future it will be done. You give me the skull of any scientist in the world. I love to recreate Tesla. It's easy to be done. Because that skull dictated the position of the soul, and that soul dictated the position of the representation of physicality. Because when the physicality was made, the skull, which is calcium, has dictated the strength of the fields of the brain. Very easy, but man cannot understand this moment. You give me the skull of a dinosaur, I'll give you the dinosaur. Because with the structure of the skull, I can create the soul of it, and the soul will dictate its physicality. If at this moment where the pressure stands can support such a life, you will see a mini dinosaur. It'll be done by the scientists in the committee. Man will do it. We call it the wind tunnels nowadays, and the replication systems. Man will do it when you create with the soul, and you create the environment where you're going to land, how you're going to look, and you stand it. You don't need to put a man under compression. You make the replication of the soul of the man, and you see how it fits. And then in advertising they sell, would you like to be 20 legs and 15 things? We made one in that space. Would you like to go and see it? And you want to see how does it feel to have 20 legs. You don't need to go to the planet. You can replicate it. If you can stand it, you can go there.
Mr. Keshe, we have a couple of people with questions here. Maybe we can get them in.
Yeah, I'm here to answer questions and teach through it.
Perhaps since we're just on the topic with Jedi Simon, he's got his hand up or can talk here as well. Maybe we'll let him go ahead. But we've got John Wells and Jalel as well in line, and Arno. So we have several people here. Maybe Jedi.
Do we have anybody on the other channels?
I have a quick question, Mr. Keshe, because I don't have time.
Carry on.
Thank you. Very good morning, Mr. Keshe. Mr. Keshe, do the fat in the body of the man, the position of the fat, indicator of the position of the body?
What do you mean?
I mean, there is in the section of the man, there is the two parts or three parts in the man where you as just clear it. Is it in the energy level of the body or in the psychosomatic? It is in the position of the fat. If is it in the lower level or it is in the above the what do you call it? The other part of the chest. Let's say, is that indicator of the sort of
Are you
energy?
talking about the belly, the breast?
Yeah, like this.
Of course, you dictate it. You look at the women with a huge breast, and look at the man with a huge breast. And some of it is physical, but you have to look at the rest of it to understand it and go back into the ancestral understanding of the history of the genetic of the life. Yes, of course he has.
What about the?
Have you ever seen a Brabant horse in Belgium? They have a huge, thick legs. Why? Because they carry a lot of weight. They need that strength. You go to the West Flanders where they grow, what do you call it? The grass which they use for clothing. Yeah, linen. You see the same structure in the women in the West Flanders. They're like Brabant horses, very thick legs, because they have to stand in the water, and over generations they need the strength to pull and do all sorts. Short legs, very fat, exactly like Brabant horses on the other side of the country. Both have been put on the same pressure, so a same condition, so they react. Smaller spaces they need to pull a lot with a lot of strength. And so that structure in the leg dictates you can't go suddenly to a skinny top, so it dictates bigger hip, bigger belly, and bigger breast, and the shape it makes. But why has it stick to that? Because the pressure of the feeding to survive has forced that condition. If you don't bring that food in, the children die. Who was the father died? The mother was always the breadwinner. So what has done psychologically, they made a condition for themselves to live, and then it's become inherited genes. Is that fatness on the top due to survival of races, or is it trying to say, I'm big, I can stand? Why do the boys have a big breast when they have a conflict with the parents or with somebody? Because they have to be the cock. The bigger I am, I can be noticed. Psychosomatic expansion of it. The girls who have a big breast, competition with a mother, getting attention of the father or opposite sex. We understand most of the psychological development in the physiology of the man. Why do you get a big belly? You eat. Have you ever noticed how most of the world presidents change during their presidency? Some of them, because they have to sit every day in front of other presidents, have dinners so rich. Or like American presidents, they eat like a pig and they run like a rat to lose the weight because they had so many good foods. In rich foods. Everything has an understanding. Now we understand it. So why the fatness has come? To what condition? Or what has it created? Is it emotional? Of course it is. Some of it. And then you have the others. And we dictate it. Depends, is it a pleasure to us, or we see it as a pleasure or a deterrent? Do we see to becoming fat to be pleasurable because we get attention of, or do we become fat to be rejected because you don't want people to touch you? I can give you cases, many cases, which is done by the Keshe Foundation Research Development. And I've given a couple of these examples before. Um, I don't want to go into it because it's too harsh. It's the culture of the Belgians. But we've seen this between two sisters. One sister taking pleasure in abuse, and one sister getting fat, not to be abused, from age of 4 or 5. It's part of the culture of the nation. Part of the nation. Then we've seen the psychological difference. So we dictate if is to us the same condition a pleasure or a rejection, a defense or offense. We want to be receiving because that gives us that pleasure. And then we put fat where we want to be, have the fat, or take it off because we decide. Physical condition according to psychosomatic condition of the acceptance.
What if someone like me, thin? For 35 years, I didn't gain more than 2 kilo or lost 2 kilo.
You have a good metabolism, but inner inside, you have to decide what you accept in your life.
So also psychosomatic.
Of course, we are created through our emotion.
The fear plays something here?
Sometimes, most of the time. If I'm thin, I can run. And some people, you see, like Chinese, they eat the same food, lunch, dinner, and breakfast, and middle of the day, and they eat 10 plates, and they're as thin as a pencil. But they eat in order. It's like Italy. In Italy, people eat in a specific order. And when they lose that order, you get fat. But as long as you stick to that order of eating, they eat 5 courses, but they're still slim as anything. Same with the Chinese. What a Chinese girl eats for breakfast, I eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I put weight on, and she's slim as a pencil. And she does it 3 times a day. But you gotta watch what they eat. There's a specific way.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Keshe, John here. Could we go back to the meteor? 2 years ago, we saw a meteor falling in Russia and a ship going through it from the back. The composition of the meteor changed. And how is it it didn't affect the Earth? Did it change its status, its composition, or what?
I do not know what you're talking about. You gotta understand, I'm on the desert island, I hardly listen to the news.
Thank you.
You have to show me if it there can be seen. I can explain.
I'd have to look for the video, but this was shown on YouTube many times.
Okay, maybe we can come up with a reference next time. Thank you. We've got Arno that's had his hand up for quite a while. Maybe you can go ahead. And then we have Rui as well. And I've been told that we have the presentation ready that was up from Klaus previously. So we can get that in the next little while as well. So let's see. Arno, can you speak there now?
Hello, good day, everyone. I have a question on everyone to Armin's explanation of Mr. Keshe. If you see light, streams of light, the higher light always go to the lower light.
Just 1 second, please.
Oh, I'm alright.
Can you repeat, please?
like if you recreate with light the third field, and the
Can you
light
go back from the beginning? Go back from the beginning. Do you hear me? Hello?
do you hear me?
I
Yes,
hear
there's
like
a lot of
cuts.
noise. Don't touch your microphone or don't adjust it or whatever you're doing. It's making a lot of noise.
Okay. I was thinking about light. If you have the lights next to each other, the higher light always falls to the lower light. Then you have your collapsing field. But that is like Mr. Cash told us with the three nanolayers. It explains the higher lower feeds the lower order. And then the energy have to go somewhere, and then it goes upstreams. See it in light for the knowledge seekers, like nanolayers of light in the bottle, in the gas bottle. Maybe this help explains the understanding. Okay. Okay.
You see, if you look at some of nanomaterials and you can induce power into the nanomaterial from inside, you will see a different light composition coming through. And these are some of the lights which we are not used to. It's a specific colors because the gravitational magnetic field of a nano layer is absorbing the fields which come from outside. But if you create it from inside, it's totally different leaking coming outside. It's let me explain to you, maybe you understand. If we create this as a creation of light in nano layers, the strength of the field which comes in now dictated by the atomic structure of the nano layer molecular here. If you can take this layer away, but you can hold on to the boundary of the nano layers through a simple way, then the light here will reflect totally different way than the light you see as black. And these lights are very much cosmetic lights, what we see from cosmos. I've done this, it's very interesting when you look at them. But if you understand the space gap of the materials and understand how to create a gap in the space, the nanostructure, don't forget this is a tube, huh? This is like this, so they're all connected to each other. You can create a field here that you can go through, but in that condition of receiving here, the interaction of the fields you do interacts with these atomic structures and they release light in certain ways, depending on the thickness of atom. And then you create this as part of understanding, and in the space technology, you create these corridors through creation of gravitational magnetic field that your reflection of your own light gives you the indication of the light in the space. You don't have a torch, you don't create a light, but the field interaction, in interaction with a given space, creates your light. This is how you create light if in a liquid environment, even a gaseous environment. You don't carry a torch. You release fields which is in interaction with the environment which you are, as you understand, gives you a given light. Even a stone will shine. This is how even the lights we see from other galaxies and the stars comes to us. But we never understood this. The
I
torch doesn't
understand.
go very far in space. But if you understand travel at space of the field, the strength of the plasma, in interaction with its environment, shows you the light where it is. And the strength is very composite. It tells you how which one is closer to you and what is, and which way you want to go. This light will go millions of kilometers. Your torch has a few meters.
this goes always. It never stops. But I don't have the research to create a nanotube. So I create with paper and nanolayers tubes to create all of the field. And if you have a higher field and a lower field together, the higher field feeds the lower field. But if you create it in a circle and you create more layers from light, then you also have the nanolayers, I understand, from the Keshe bottle, because how you create your planet, it creates the layer through the whole bottle. Or did I understand that wrong? Because when you use...
correct. You're correct.
Yeah.
You're not far out.
If you start using light for nanolayers, or was that not the meaning to go in that direction?
You can do. It's another option. Nobody says you're wrong.
Okay.
In the world of science,
maybe I now. Okay.
You can do, and enlighten us. Come and teach us.
That is wish, yes. Jalal is going to support me in the right direction, and I create the reactor I showed last week. I think when the light attracts to the center and the giver, because I don't use the equinox like the equinox, I use that up and down to create the equinox fields to fall inside. I want to work this out, and then I show it to everybody. I think when we start using light as nanolayers, we don't need nothing, because then we can learn to use our attention. Then we have the knowledge to make the ship complete without any needs. I think, sorry if I'm wrong, but I think you try to teach us that of this.
If this is the way you understand, you're not far wrong, but that's how it is. You got to understand what you're doing and how you do it.
Therefore, when the reactor is finished, I want to bring it to Keshe Foundation in Holland to give it, so you can make experiments with it, because I'm not far enough with the GaNs materials. I just in with 1 year. I have now maybe 10 different GaNs, but not the GaNs I need in my perspective yet. So I will show it next time. I will do it, and then I will create 3 feeds on every layer to feed like star formation, and 1 feed from outside to the GaN, so we can still use my graph system to play it with it then we can go more directions. That was my intention of this, because I understand the light, but I don't understand the strings of all the different GaNs yet, but I understand my intention and what I can create with it, and this way we can create together when we understand how the light creates the layers to create the influx, to create the capacitor of the north hemisphere, to create the feed of the south hemisphere, and to create the equinox, to create matter in the friction of the column barrier and the equinox. Yeah.
It depends on what. Depends on what you want to.
I changed it from matter to entity. Sorry, I used the wrong word. Because when the layers are there and it will be crossed with white in the corner, like you explained last time, then there's the friction of the manifestation. Yeah. Okay, I let you go. Sorry. Thank you. I hope that now everybody thinks in layers of light, so they are closer. Because when you work with GaNs, you also work with light of the GaNs. Like you explained.
It's all the same. The light changes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But I try to make some teaching. I never done it, but I will do my best, and I hope Jalal will have time to support me. I show it with him maybe, or show it in the class. I don't know, but we will work it out. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's sometimes when you teach or talk, you find your own solutions and your answers, and in so many ways, part of the teaching is understanding uh, how you can develop your school of thought. And as I said, we never peer review, we never somebody to be right or wrong unless you know that their way is not what it is, then you can say you're wrong. But in the plasma technology, nobody's wrong because that's the process of creation. But in the matter state, because we understood it the wrong way, many scientists go the wrong way. And you can say it because you can show it to them. Even then, it's your understanding, and if they understand, there's a opinion in understanding the reality, and if we can show it, and then it depends on them if they want to accept it. So when you come up with these ideas, nobody said you're wrong. When we start telling you're right or wrong, then we become peer reviewers, and that way the. But if you can say it's wrong, in what condition, or you add to the knowledge, you think of a way and it's correct, is nobody can say anything. But you don't know what the outcome will be, and it could be enlightening to understand.
Okay, I know we should wrap things up here soon, Mr. Keshe. It's we're 3 hours into it. We've got Rui's had his hand up for a while. Maybe we can hear from him, and then
How do
maybe.
they hold their hands up? Don't get tired.
It's amazing. It's the digital world, and we're allowed to do that nowadays forever. Klaus also had this presentation that would be good to get in here.
Yeah, shall we have the class or shall we have the Rui if his hand doesn't get tired?
Well, maybe Rui can quickly come in and say what he'd like to say, and we'll see if we can address that. Rui?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning, everyone. And thanks, Arno, for your exposition. Very interesting concepts and ways. My question is just going back when you, Mr. Keshe, was playing about skulls and how to make in a human being or dinosaur or whoever. It's about souls. Souls is the business of UC member, as I am. So the soul of a human being created that way from the skull, and very easy to do it, will be just a physical man of the soul, like we know, or it's collective soul of the man. Let's say soul of the man. You understand my question?
Yes, you mean soul of physicality or the soul of the man?
Yeah, or if it's a soul of the man because it's collective, if he has a soul of the man, this kind of been created that way.
When it's been done and done correctly, you will see even the behavior of the man at the time of life, because you create another life. But you have to understand something very, very simple, extremely simple, but it's important to understand. You have to understand why we can create from the skull of the man, the man. In the present science of creation, as we understand plasma, the structure of bone or calcium drops in, and in interaction with the amino acid and conditional environment of the sphere of the brain of the man, leads to find its position and becomes a cell of the brain. In that position, you build this inwards. But you got to remember one thing. This skull was made by the creation of the soul itself, so it has the parameters of it. But there is another point you have to remember. This creation of the soul, as it's made itself, exactly as I said, leave a spot in the reactor that it can join. You understand? It's easy then to interact with the original soul, because it's very much like egg and sperm coming together in collection and division and expansion, creating the soul. Now you have the physicality, very much like egg and sperm, which was created out of this, of the soul itself. The soul, strength and condition, has decided the shape of the skull. And the skull, by its limitation, has dictated the strength of the emotion and the physicality. So now you had the fingerprint in it because it was created by it and because of it. And then when you understand this, the same principle, the soul, the real, the original soul, which is and will be as part of it in interaction like a twin star. You can see into the life of the physicality at the time.
Yeah, Mr. Keshe, the original soul, you mean the soul of the man, the
Soul of
collective one?
Yes, because
Okay.
when you created this soul and you understood the structure, you can create, lead to creation of the physicality. This is what I explained to you. Give me time, and you shall see the Christ.
Yeah, I understand that very well. When we use the normal way to do it, the seeds of the man and the woman, and how it works. The thing is, if you get the skull and you want to make life there, from there, that is my question. Like you say, I
It's
will make
what?
like when you get the skull,
Yeah,
and then you make the life from that, not
of
the.
course. You have to create the soul from the skull.
So this kind of skull of soul created, not normal way, but artificial.
It is
My
the
question.
same. Last time you
Oh,
had
it
the,
will be the
but this
same
time you
because.
already have the fingerprint of it. You get a copy of it.
Okay.
The
So
the thing is, when you have, let me explain. I have to stop you there, just to enlighten you a little bit. When you had the sperm and egg, there was a composition what the strength to become the soul. Here, the strength of the soul has already created, dictated by this original soul when he left the skull behind. One is the creator of the other, and one becomes the limitation of the other.
yeah, I understand, Mr. Keshe. What I don't, my question on my doubt, it's about would it take this soul creation? It's made by another soul by intention, physicality, not that soul. So it's why I ask
No,
that soul will.
no. But this is what I explain again till maybe I can enlighten you.
Okay.
The the condition which the skull has been created, now it becomes that containment of, let me explain to you. You needed a sperm and egg and so many of their division to create a soul, through the soul of their own themselves. What we call, this is soul of physicality, this is a soul of totality. This soul of totality has created the soul of physicality. Now you're using this soul of physicality, which is a creation created by the original soul, to recreate it. This is done very easy. Can be done very easy. But you have to understand to recreate the condition of the existence of the soul. If you can create, we have a case now in one of our studies where we have a brain, and the brain itself now is creating a secondary skull, and then we have the original skull. We see calcium calcification on the brain. So this new calcium creates new condition of existence on the body of the man, a new enforcement. Before, this brain was in this dimension, and now it has to operate in this dimension, and it's going through the conversion. So it's creating a lot of problem with the physicality. Is a reduction in size. Is exactly what I said before. You remember the two skulls, where your soul
Yes.
sits, and you see it. This is if I'm allowed to permit it in the future to show the MRI of this one, you will see creation of two classification. Classification directly on two layers coexisting. And then this dictates a new physical dimension, which creates a lot of paralysis. And the doctors call it ILS. Oh, sorry, MS. And all it is to get used to. So the body is getting, it's like when you get a new soul and then you have to get used to it. Now the body has started creating a second skull inside the skull.
Yeah, my question is, this is about creation of souls in a way.
Yes, no,
It's
this is
detected by
exactly what I'm
nature.
answering you.
But so my question was, this has a collective soul, that kind of soul created, right? That I want to understand. Yeah.
Yes, you see, you gotta go back to the process of the creation. I repeat again. In the womb of the mother, when you have a sperm and egg, the shape of the womb is the skull. Till the body itself creates a collective soul, that then it decides on its own captivity. Here we have the captivity, and with that we create the soul. And this soul, because it's made out of the captured elements of the creation of itself, has the elements of its connection of with the soul which created the skull itself. And this, as it's created it, create exact matching what it was when it was created. You will see the exact physicality. You see the same school of thoughts, the same emotion. It's very much like waking up a man from coma. But this time, you bring the soul in. This is something which is done in a space in a normal way. For you lot, at the moment it seems fairy tale, but you don't understand it. Some of you can do it. But I was trying to teach this in Barletta, and I set Marco to establish such a box. There were boxes, and I asked them, they were shipped to Barry. I don't know what happened to it, but we always kept it moist. We created different salts. Marco spent a lot of time doing this, but he couldn't see the knowledge behind it. What was the ultimate condition?
Yeah, I can understand that part of how it's made. Yeah, it's in the possibility and everything. The question was on level of the souls, but I understood very well what you explained. Thank you.
Yeah, this is very easy, but then because you have that common denominator, you have the existence of the true soul. It could be anywhere in the universe, that's all. You still have. And if you can create that condition, you can create a replica of the physicality of the man. And then you'll have the same. This soul led to the creation of physicality to start with.
Yeah, the thing it was, I thought it was the soul that dictated his existence, the soul, the collective soul, and not the physical man of the soul. That will come after. But I know that there is a connection
This is
and
a
a link
reverse process.
on it. Yes, yes, yeah.
It's a reverse process of creation, where at the beginning we have a dynamic structure, like a sperm and egg. It leads to the creation of the solid structure, the skull. Now we use the solid structure that it was created by the soul of the collective plasmatic structure to create the physicality.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
There's a worry, of course, like voiced by Lucas, that isn't there a danger if the soul wasn't elevated and the intention that has been put in it, could that affect it all in a negative way?
If it's elevated,
does it have to be grown with love? Might be another part of that question. Is how does the emotion work into it in terms of the intention and so on? Would it not be an emotion of love involved by necessity to make it all work?
You know, you transfer the knowledge of the man through RNA and then it becomes a DNA. It's the same process with the original soul and what the soul you have in the dimension of physicality. It needs a lot of understanding, then you see the light.
I was thinking what you could do with those elongated skulls that they found in various places of the world. See what kind of being you could develop from that. But we should probably move along to Klaus here and his presentation, because we are running short on time. We need to take a break in between the next meeting here, I believe.
Okay, if you allow Klaus to come in and then we call it a day, please.
Okay.
Because I have to go into another emergency meeting with
Yes.
and then I have another meeting after that.
Okay. That's what I figured. Klaus, are you ready to go with?
Yes, I'm ready. Please, Rick, allow me to open the video. Seems to work. Can you see me? Okay.
Yes.
Hello again. Thanks a lot for the opportunity to show you today another product, a simple one, but I would say a very effective one. Knowledge seeker already know this kind of, let's say, device to it. The water dispenser looks very simple, but is very effective and received the certification for it. This is why we are showing it to you. What it is, most of you most probably know, it's a plasma water dispenser. And it consists of this very simple 5-liter container with a valve mounted a bit higher than normal. And as it is certified, you can order online these 100 milliliter GANS bottles from now on, which you can place very easily around the pot. And as we certified it, there is no direct contact from the GANs with the water inside. So you can just place them around. Otherwise, knowledge seeker who exactly know what they are doing can also go another way. But like it is here, it is certified. The GANSes, as we have it available for the bowl unit, can be ordered in online, and not only the 4 basic GANSes, there are also the amino acids inside from each GANS. You can also order other GANSes if you would like to. And these are available online. I can show you here. I opened it in another window. On the shop, if you go to store.keshefoundation.org, click on GANS water dispenser, and here you can see the picture again and the description of it. And the dispenser plus 100 milliliter pure, in this case, CO2 acetano plus amino mixture can be ordered. And if you go back and click on GANS reserve for water dispenser, you see here you have the whole list of all GANSes which can be ordered in these sealed 100 milliliter bottles. So this is a beautiful way for us in this combination to make these GANSes available for you in a sealed bottle. And as every time, as we always do, we show you how to use it. In this case, this is very easy. Let me just stop sharing. How to use this? Just fill in the water, fill it up till for 5 liters maximum until here. Place your GANSes around, as I did here, or make some other procedures if you are a knowledge seeker and you have digged already deeper. And then just drink the water, or use it for patches, or use it for balls or whatever. And that's more or less all. Very simple, very effective.
So we can submerge it as well if you drop them inside the bottle.
Dropping inside the bottle is currently not part of the certification. But whatever you do with
this is like that Jewish story, isn't it? The father goes away, says he can rub the bread on the bottle, you get the cheese inside.
Yes, somehow like this, yeah. But this was a way, a path for us to walk to make these ganses in sealed bottles for you available. We had to change through the experience of the last weeks. We changed to measure them in weight, in grams, which means you receive 100 grams. And as you see, for instance, here, some ganses are less in the bottle then. So don't worry if they are not filled up, just look at the weight. They all have 100 gram. Some of them are filled up, the sediments are till the top, and some of them are less, because we measure from now on the weight of it and not the milliliter of it.
I think that's something which a lot of knowledge seekers don't know, that a bottle of gans is not necessarily the same volume as the one and the other ganses.
No, it is not.
Would that be the dried weight you're talking about then, Klaus?
No, they're not dried. These are the sediments.
100 grams. The 100 grams is not the dried weight of the gans that's in the bottle. How do you measure?
No, I tell you how we do this. We fill up a bottle. It's on a scale. We fill up the bottle. Then we let it settle down. We look at the scale. It's 80 grams. Okay, we fill up more sediments, and until it reaches 100 grams, then we stop. And then the GANs still settles down. And depending of the type of GANs, it settles down 50%, it settles down only 5%. So the weight is important and not the milliliters. Was that the answer to your question, Rick?
I think so, more or less. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Let me see here on that presentation. Lovely presentation. Thank you, Klaus. Nice scarf.
Thank you. Most beautiful
what
part.
happened to that German precision? You became Italian.
I never had a tie. You said a very good tie.
Very smart, you know. Oh, actually, this is a winter clothing in Austria, isn't it?
Yeah, it's white outside already. So.
Oh, you had the snow, so at least you better warm up.
Probably has ski boots on underneath there.
Oh, it's like that.
I don't show you what I'm wearing. Because I only dressed till now what the camera is doing, you know.
We don't say it's a boxer shorts under there or a ski boots. He came with a ski sleigh.
There is only one camera installed here, so I double checked it several times.
Just the right height. They have these tables, goes up and down according to the height. It can goes up to his neck. I think that table. You can adjust the height up to there. Yeah. This is what do you call it? The research center in Austria. They have beautiful tables. They're working for them. So, anything else, or shall we call it a day? We have to go because there's a meeting, as we call the international meeting of the Keshe Foundation regarding universities. As I said, if you join us now, Keshe Foundation has moved into the dimension. Thank you very much, Klaus.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Into the dimension of teaching at the universities, the knowledge and the technology, and by the request of the Brazilian education organizations, we are setting up curriculum and teaching and putting teachers up to teach the knowledge at the university level for masters, first degree, and PhDs. If you have such a knowledge and you want to join part of the educational teaching of the Keshe Foundation, please contact what we call the Keshe Foundation Webmasters. Soon we announce the links. We have the same proposition, same position in China. We're looking for all the Chinese doctors who have an extensive knowledge of the Keshe Foundation development to join us next week, because we have entered clinical trials at a human level, and at the same time teaching other scientists the technology at the medical, what you call the hospitals. So we need you if you are there, and then in the coming time we allocate, you'll be employed by the universities, by the structures, or by the what we call the organizations in the country. We need a large number of scientists. This is going to have the snowball effect in other countries. We know 3 more are looking at it, and there's one which is on the negotiation level, that we need all our knowledge seekers. You move into the position of professors and lecturers at universities, paid lecture university level fees. This is the negotiation what we'll do with the governments in the next step. But at the moment we need to start teaching you to become teachers and setting curriculums to have the teachers. Some of the governments already are asking us, can you give us a curriculum you're using for other nations? This will be done. You can take it to universities, and in these countries you can join to become and get your first degrees and university graduates in your what you call in your languages. These jobs are not Keshe Foundation jobs. These are jobs set up in collaboration with education authorities and governments. In the universities, you get employed by the nation, by the institutes that you teach, and then we monitor the progress, the teaching, and everything else, and we have the rights to remove or place or add to the curriculum and the teachers and everything else. We need those of you who carry a PhD, a doctorate in different fields of medicine, agriculture, um, energy, uh, space and material, that you carry the knowledge of the foundation, that we can place you as people who supervise the new PhD students to become graduates in the technology. Your papers will be published in the scientific journals accordingly, as a normal tradition as it is. So we are going into the next steps. We have a small deviation from the present PhDs, that the 3 years does not need it because of the rapidness of the development of technology, that we have to negotiate somehow 1 year, 1.5 years maximum, or maybe 2 years for PhD terms, but this depends on what governments and where we go and what levels. We need scientists in the Persian language to start teaching. Those of you who speak Farsi fluently, we need to strengthen the Iranian scientists, or what we call knowledge seekers, into this level. This will eventually lead to positions in the education level in Iran in the future. But there's a demand to train a number of Iranian speaking teachers, understand the concept and the fundamental principle of the technology in medicine, in agriculture and the rest, to start training and teaching Iranian scientists. We have the same thing positioned with 3 other languages which we'll announce in the coming time. It's a process which we asked for, and now we are given the opportunity to fulfill. There are 2 European community members which we move into, the negotiations are in progress, that teachings will become as part of the university curriculum. This will be coming on the back of 2 more or 3 more others. We'll see within the next year to 18 months, some 10 nations will lecture and teach these subjects at the university level, because the Keshe Foundation, as your followers and supporters of the foundation, have worked so hard. The governments are fully familiar with it. So we are in trials in some nations, and we are under consideration in others. And once the opening of the universities come into operation and the institutes by the government, it will roll on naturally to the others, because the others don't want to be behind the other ones. So we have organized what we call the what is known as the Keshe Foundation team, of what we call university organization team. You can contact us. We need a number. As many as we can in different languages, or we can teach you to approach your governments and universities to put lectures in as is taught in other nations. this is important for us. We know there is some developments in Philippines. The Philippine team has done some work in that university level before. There are some work done in Romania before. The Russians are active in that level. So we try to bring this together, and in time we can develop it in a high level, in different way, beyond PhD as the research centers and organizations. Thank you very much.
And what would be the best contact method for people that are interested in?
There is a meeting immediately after this meeting, which will be called in. There is a number of people, tens of people have been invited. I don't know how many would be total. That if you receive the invitation, please attend or listen to it and come back. And collectively, a leader for this team will be chosen today. Somebody will accept the responsibility to spearhead the whole organization for universities. A team will be put together and then they announce it. This we have to go to management university. This is a very rapid development. The first packs has to be ready in next 4 or 5 weeks for 2 different governments. And I go back again. Chinese Keshe Foundation doctors who've been waiting for the opportunity, the door has opened up. This one. We have to do this, and it's a golden opportunity. Thank you very much for today. We learned a lot, we shared a lot, and we enlightened a lot. We meet with a group which has been invited to see, and then hopefully next week we report back to you what it is, and maybe this way you can approach your universities and institutes for the technology to be taught, and it'll open up doors. It'll open up doors in different ways, and we are there now. Governments respond to our call, and we respond to the government's call to work collectively to change the course of humanity. Thank you very much. There is one thing I have to tell you. We received, again, I was asked to declare, thank you very much for 3 or 4 donations which has arrived in the past week. The generosity is good for what a foundation we can spend, and foundation from now on needs more support beyond what we can imagine now, especially setting up these kind of structures. It's beyond the support of one man and one organization. We need heavy support from now on to develop and be able to support these kind of development. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, and thank you for opening the doors for so many of us on this planet at this place and time. One way that people can help support is by purchasing products at the Keshe Foundation store, and I just want to put a plug in for that just before we end here. And let me share what's going on is the winter special. Hello, Caroline?
Yes, hi, I'm Caroline. I would like to put a wish through for the foundation with all these new events coming on the table. As a Universal Council member, I would love to express my wish for the Keshe Foundation to receive all the abundance for whatever is needed to establish all its centers worldwide in the view of the world peace. That's my wish as a council member. I am present.
I am present.
I am present in your wish. Thank you.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
Present. I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
I am present.
This is majority the voice of the Universal Council members. Thank you very much. Something which I have to add, for the first time by setting up the structure of the university team, this setup will come under control and what we call the supervision of the Earth Council members, as this will depend on the continental position and the Universal Councils and the Earth Councils. Especially the Earth Council members become responsible for development of the education, as that is part of their responsibility to see the universities and the structures of the education in their continent has been done accordingly to the others and on equal basis. So if you sit on the management of the Keshe Foundation teaching team, the members will be the Earth Council members for the first time. They've been given the opportunity to be part of the organization, as is their responsibility in the coming time to look after the education and the wealth and the health of the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. And I see there's lots of people that have announced they are present in the chats. And speaking of presents, it's a good time of year to think about presents. And that's back to our product here, products, which is in the Winter Special 2018. The first special is called Plasma for Your Special One. And it includes products that are helpful for different, like soap and for pampering someone that's a special person. And the second one is called Your Plasmatic Secret. And the secret is about the alleviation of pain, which one can have through this particular series of products. And just wanted to say that and show these. They're available, 2 specials, and when you buy these packages, you save some money on the package price, and you'll surprise someone with some beautiful and useful plasma products for what's often is a holiday season. We call it the winter special. Some people say, well, it's summer in the lower part of the planet. But in any case, it's winter and holiday season. Some people, it'll be Christmas, and it's a good time to get some products ordered for people in your life. Okay, we need to end now. And I hear the bells going off in the background here. So I think it's time for us to end today's session. Thank you, everybody. Hold the questions that still are out for next week. And thank you all for being part of the 251st Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, November 22nd, 2018. And thank you, Flint, for taking us out. Bye for now.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.